Kwanzaa, do. All right. Good morning. Yes. Now, can you hear me? Let's see some indication there. Good morning. Good evening. Some of you are within our asylum, so it will be good morning to you. There you are. Emma Buggy, you hear me? So good morning, everybody. So what we're going to do this morning is try as much as is possible to spend time a little wisely. So if you're already familiar with the drill, you know we're going to be starting with the Yoruba language section. But there are some of you who are probably new to our live broadcast. So those of you who are new to this broadcast understand this. We're starting with the Yoruba language section. I'll probably take all of maybe about 7 to 10 minutes with the Yoruba language section, and then we will go into our Dogon Turenchi, where we get to speak the language of our colonizers who still largely own our minds. So this is where we go into our Yoruba thing now. So ẹ káàárọ̀ ẹ̀yin ènìyàn wa nílé lóko gbogbo tẹ́ ẹ bá wà orílẹ̀-èdè alààyè a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run fún ẹ̀mí kọ́lọ́run ọba kó máa dá gbogbo wa sí. Tẹ́ bá notice ẹ rí i pé tẹ́ bá ṣàkíyèsí ẹ̀yẹ́ kébí náà try kí n gbìyànjú kí n má sọ kí n má fẹ́ ìbò láàárọ̀ yìí. Tẹ́ bá ṣàkíyèsí ẹ rí i pé lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbà tí n bá fẹ́ bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ màá kọ́kọ́ mú ìkànnà àwọn òwe wa, òun ni màá dé ọ̀rọ̀ tí n bá fẹ́ sọ, òun ni màá dé mọ́. Ṣe rí ẹ̀yin tí ò bá tí ì pẹ́jù fún tó yẹ pé bóyá ẹ ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ń ṣòwò ọmọ bíbí tẹjọ́ ọmọ bíbí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, ẹ gbìyànjú ẹ jẹ́ káwọn ọmọ wa gbédè wa. Ṣe rí pípọ́n ń pèèyàn lọ́mọlúàbí ibi èdè ló ti bẹ̀rẹ̀, torí nínú èdè lòwe wà. Ṣé wá ráwọn ohun tá à ń pè láwọn òwe wọ̀nyí, tẹ́ bá tú dáadáa ẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní rí i pé kì í kàn ṣe n tó ìbò ń pè ní proverb. Òwe tiwa kò túmọ̀ sí proverb, ó yàtọ̀ sí proverb. Òwe wa tẹ́ bá wò ó dáadáa kò sí n tó fi yàtọ̀ sí ìwé bíbélì tàbí kùránì, torí ó tú. Tẹ́ bá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní tú ẹ rí i pé bí àdìtú ni bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń tú lẹ tún máa bá, bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣe ń tú lẹ máa bá. Òwe tí mo fẹ́ fi bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ láàárọ̀ yìí, òun ni Yorùbá ń sọ pé tí o bá ń gbọ́ gbé gbé gbé, tó o bá bá wọn gbé ẹ̀ǹkùlé rẹ ni wọ́n ó gbé sí o, ẹ̀ǹkùlé rẹ ni wọ́n ó gbé sí. Ṣùgbọ́n nígbà bá ní wọ́n bá ń gbọ́ gbé gbé gbé, ẹ̀ǹkùlé rẹ ni wọ́n lè gbé sí. Kí ni wọ́n ń gbé gangan? Torí tí wọ́n bá ní gbé gbé gbé, á jẹ́ pé kì í ṣe nǹkan tí wọ́n fẹ́ nítòsí wọn náà ṣe ní kí wọ́n gbé. Tó bá jẹ́ nǹkan tó níyì ni, tó jẹ́ nǹkan olówó iyebíye, kò sẹ́ni tí ó sọ pé kí wọ́n ó gbé. Yóò ní wọn ẹ fílẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ ni, torí bí wọ́n fún wèrè gan lọ́kọ́ yóò roko sọ́dọ̀ ara rẹ̀. Wọ́n gbọ́ bá ti ń di gbé gbé gbé, bó o bá bá wọn gbé wọn ó gbé sẹ́ǹkùlé rẹ̀. Ìyẹn ló túmọ̀ sí pé n tí wọ́n ń gbé yìí kì í ṣe n téèyàn kankan fẹ́ lẹ́ǹkùlé rẹ̀, ṣùgbọ́n gbogbo wọn ni wọ́n ń gbé. Wọ́n ń gbé. Wọ́n á ní tó o bá bá wọn gbé, tó bá jẹ́ nǹkan burúkú ni wọ́n sì ń gbé, wọ́n á ní kémi náà bá wọn gbé. N tó túmọ̀ sí ni wípé gbogbo èèyàn gbà pé nǹkan burúkú ni wọ́n fẹ́ lẹ́ǹkùlé tiwọn, ṣùgbọ́n wọn ò ní kùn tó bá padà bọ́ sẹ́ǹkùlé tiẹ̀. Ọmọ ọlọ́mọ ni wọ́n ń ránṣẹ́ dé tòrutòru. Àmọ́ bó lọ̀rọ̀ yìí, òwe yìí, bó ló ṣe rọ̀ mọ́ ibi tá a wà lónìí lórílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà? Ẹ jẹ́ n ṣàlàyé ẹ̀ fún yín. Mo lérò pé bí ọdún 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sẹ́yìn, tí wọ́n bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ wípé ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn kan lágbára wà, kò tiẹ̀ ṣòro láti mọ̀ ní gbogbo ìgbà. Nígbà tí Jonathan tó wà níjọba, bẹ́ẹ̀ bá lọ Àbújá, ṣe lẹ́ rí pé gbogbo àwọn tó wà l'Ábújá ará Niger Delta lẹ́ pè gbogbo wọn. Ẹlòmíì fẹ́ máa ró ìró àwọn ògbómọ̀jọ wa pa, tí ó máa ro mọ́dì kí wọ́n lè mọ̀ pé èèyàn òun ló ń bẹ níjọba. Àbọ̀rọ̀ mi ò yé yín? Àsìkò oyún ti kọjá. Nígbà àsìkò oyún lọ, Buhari dé. Ẹ rò pé gbogbo ẹni tó wà l'Ábújá Fúlàní àbáwúsá ni wọ́n ni. Ẹni tí ò gbá Hausa gan ó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní fagídí kọ. Ẹlòmíì tí ò mọ bí wọ́n ṣe ń rùkù bá òun gan bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní lọ sí mọ́ṣáláṣí. Mo rántí ìkan, Akíìmù ní jẹ́. Láyé ìgbà kan àmọ́ rí ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì, èmi náà máa lọ ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì nígbà náà mo bá pàdé bí ẹ̀kan bí ẹ̀mejì ní House on the Rock. Láyé ìgbà tí mo yìí máa ń jókòó ní ìpéjọpọ̀ àwọn Pentecostal. Ṣùgbọ́n ní ìsinyìí ó gbórúkọ ohun sórí bí háràhárà rí látàyè ìgbà Buhari sí nítorí ẹ̀sìn ó ti di tí wọ́n ń bá wọn gbé. Lónìí, wọ́n ń gẹ fìlà ní on his mandate ní gbogbo wọn jọ ń dúró lé lórí. Ṣùgbọ́n ẹ jẹ́ n ṣàlàyé nǹkan kan fún yín. Àwọn tó ń wọ aṣọ Niger Delta lánàá, àwọn dà lónìí. Níbo ni wọ́n wà lónìí? Àwọn tó ń da bàbá rìgá bolẹ̀ tí wọ́n ń dé fìlà Ṣàgárí káàkiri lánàá, níbo ni wọ́n wà lónìí? Ìgbà ò kí ń pẹ́ lọ bí òréré ọmọ ọlọ́fin. Ní tí mò ń pè àkíyèsí wa sí ni wípé bí ìgbà ṣe ń yí lùgbà tó ń yí lura, ìyà ló ń yí lù wọ́n lásìkò yẹn bá ti yí kúrò tán. Nítorí wípé wọn ò bá wọn tó ń bá wọn gbé ńgbà náà, wọn ò bá wọn gbé. Ẹ̀yìnkùlé wọn ni wọ́n padà gbé sí. Katsina tó jẹ́ ìlú Buhari, ibẹ̀ kọ́ ló di tó jẹ́ pé lónìí yìí àtọba àtìjòyè, àtọ̀tọ̀kùlú, àtolórí ìlú, àtòṣèlú, gbogbo wọn náà ń wọgbó lọ dọ̀bálẹ̀, tó ń bẹ́rí, tó ń lọ ń bẹ àwọn tí agbénipa. Fúlàní ni wọ́n, Fúlàní làwọn yẹn náà, Fúlàní lẹni tó wà níjọba lánàá. Tẹ bá ń wò bọ̀, ní tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ lánàá ó ti ń súnmọ́ tòsí. Wọ́n ń gbé, ẹ bá wọn gbé. Ẹ rí ìdí kan àbí míì láti dákẹ́. Nítorí pé ẹ rò pé èèyàn wa ló wà bẹ́ẹ̀ kò kàn wá. Ní tí ó kàn wọ́n ń Katsina lánàá, ń ti ń ṣẹ̀wò mọ́ wọn lára lónìí o. Bẹ́ẹ̀ bá sì wò sùn, ẹ mọ̀ bó ti wà láàrin àwa náà. Yorùbá ní bògiri ò bá lanu, aláàmù ò lè bá wọn ráyè wọbẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n bògiri bá sì ti lanu, ìgbó láláàmù ò ní wọnú ẹ̀. Gbogbo ẹni tó yẹ kó máa bá wọn kígbe gbé ẹ̀ ń dákẹ́. Kí ló ń gbé tán gbé lónìí? Ẹ rántí adarí pọ́n tí ń bẹ nílùú Èbó. Nígbà tí ìyẹn bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní sọ̀rọ̀, àwọn ará tiwa ń bí bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní forí gbára wọn. Níta tí ń kélé lórí, àwọn kinní yìí ń pa wá. Ìpakúpa ni ń pààyàn. Ẹ̀mí èèyàn ò jẹ́ nǹkan kan mọ́ tí wọn ò kà kún nǹkan kan. Nítorí pé adarí pọ́n wá sọ̀rọ̀, ó wá di ti gbogbo wọn á bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní forí gbára wọn. Ẹ̀yin náà ẹ wá ń dákẹ́. Pàápàá ẹ̀yin tiwa tẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ Mùsùlùmí. Yóò dá àárín kan tẹ́ kọ́kọ́ bira yín. Kí lẹ kọ́kọ́ jẹ́ gangan náà? Ṣé Yorùbá ni yín ni àbí Mùsùlùmí? Ìyín ilẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ béèrè lọ́wọ́ ara yín. Nítorí tí ò bá jẹ́ wípé ẹ ti gbàgbé wípé èèyàn lẹ kọ́kọ́ jẹ́. Kẹ́ ẹ tó jẹ́ Yorùbá, kẹ́ ẹ tó jẹ́ Mùsùlùmí, ibi tí wọ́n bí yín sí lẹ ṣe jẹ́ ní tẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ tó pọ̀ jù nínú wa. Bí wọ́n bá bí ọlọ́mọ Kìrìyó, ibẹ̀ ló dúró sí. Bí wọ́n bá bí ọ ní Mùsùlùmí, ibẹ̀ ló dúró sí. Àwọn tẹ́mi gbé òṣùbà fún pàápàá, òun làwọn tó ń ní ọkàn láti dúró láti ṣe ẹ̀sìn ìbílẹ̀ tiwa. Ṣùgbọ́n ẹ̀rí wa, nítorí ẹ̀sìn tẹ́ ẹ gbà, ẹ̀rọ òótọ́ ẹ̀ ní lè sọ. Ẹ̀rí òtítọ́ ẹ̀ ní lè sọ. Òótọ́ tí wọn ò sọ lánàá ń Katsina, wọ́n sọ lónìí. Ẹ bára yín sọ ètò ń jókòdòrò. Ẹ bára yín sọ ètò ń jẹ́ òkòdòrò. ẹ wá jẹ́ kí mi pàkíyèsí yín sí nǹkan kan. Ṣé ẹ rí òṣùṣù ọwọ̀ kò ṣeé ṣẹ́? Òṣùṣù ọwọ̀ kò ṣeé ṣẹ́. Ṣùgbọ́n tẹ́ ẹ bá ti yọ fọ́nrán ọwọ̀ dání lẹ́yọ kọ̀ọ̀kan, ṣíṣẹ́ ni wọ́n ń ṣẹ́. Kò sí ìnira kankan bó ṣe ń wù kó kéré mọ́ béèyàn bá fẹ́ ṣẹ́ ẹyọ ọwọ̀. Ẹ̀yin ẹ kó pọ̀ kẹ́ ẹ gbìyànjú ẹ̀ wò. Àìrìn lọ́wọ́ ọwọ́ ọmọ ejò ní í ṣekú pa wọ́n o. Torí tó bá yẹ pé paramọ́lẹ̀ ń lọ wọ́n ájúṣèbí ń bọ̀ lẹ́yìn ni tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ sí wọn ò ní máa ṣẹlẹ̀ sí wọn. Tèmi ó kàn sọ fún yín rèé, tẹ́ ẹ bá ń gbọ́ gbégbégbé, ẹ bá wọn gbé. Bí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́, ẹ̀yìnkùlé yín ní ń bọ̀. Ẹ má sì fi irọ́, ẹ má fi gbé nǹkan kan, ẹ má fi kan bọ̀ kan nínú. Bó bá ṣe rí ni ẹ wí. Àbọ̀rọ̀ mi ò yé yín? Bó bá ṣe rí ni ẹ wí. Bó bá ṣe rí ni ẹ wí. Ẹ má ṣàgbàyà tó ń gbẹ́jọ́ ẹnìkan, ẹ wo bó ṣe rí. Ẹ má tanra yín. Ẹ̀yin tèmi ní Yorùbá, mi ò sọ jù báyìí lọ láàárọ̀ yìí o. So that was the Yoruba language section. I encourage those of you who are blessed to have the capacity to hear me, because if you have the capacity to hear me, it then means that you also have the capacity to speak your own truth. Because the truth is irrelevant until it becomes a chorus. If one person is speaking in a small corner like I am, I'm blessed to have a platform from where I can speak, and so do you. Speak your local languages to those who cannot hear this Dogonturenchi or who may not understand the issues. Take it upon yourself to educate them. I was chatting with a lady this morning on Facebook. I think my friend on Facebook, Dele, was speaking to her frustration with how uninformed the average person in the West, let me just say the South, are about the issues in the North. And I had occasion to explain to her that we would all have to educate each other, because without educating each other, we'll end up mutually destroyed by the ignorance that has been weaponized against the average Nigerian. So if you have the opportunity, please speak to the people. Speak. Record a minute clip in your own language, share it within your network, educate yourself, because you really can't teach without educating yourself. So do that, educate yourself on the subjects that calls your attention, because if you see a problem, it's almost always because you have a part to play in its resolution. So speak your own truth in your own space, preferably in your local language. I still have like a minute, and there is an issue that I would just like to speak to very briefly. I hate being detained by social media white noise, but because there's something I'm observing that is beginning to go beyond social media white noise, and is the marital squabble, Oga Ned and his Amore. Is none of my business, and it shouldn't be the business of any one of us, really. We should be focused on the multiple problems that we have as Nigerians. But because I am noticing the deployment of the police, the court system, in the resolution of what should be a family issue that should be resolved in house, I am compelled to share a Yoruba proverb. Ebu alonita won, abonita na. When you tie down the thief in the morning, and everybody sees the thief on the way to the farm. And when they ask, why is this person tied up? Oh, he stole from the in-laws farm. They'll probably deride the thief. But if as they're coming back, they find the thief still tied up, exposed to the element, the next thing they will be talking about are the excesses of the in-law. I will not say anything beyond this. The only reason it interests me, as I have said, is the deployment judicial system, and the judicial system includes the police, the entire process, that justice system that involves the police and the court and the prison system. I'm seeing it deployed, and it alarms me. It alarms me. But this morning, I will not be detained by, please. This morning, I would love us to talk about the subject of Nigeria and the edification of lies. There is hardly anywhere you turn in Nigeria where you do not find lies actively edified, raised up, made to seem like the truth, forced down your throat sometime as the truth in national discourse, in everything we do, lies. We appear to have developed an estranged relationship with the truth. We see the self evident truth and we argue counterintuitively against the truth. I don't understand how we expect that something would change from the reality of what is to what we would prefer it to be simply because we refuse to accept the truth and we create parallel narratives in edification of the lies that we prefer to believe. In recent days, I am forced to reflect on this insanity because that is the only, when a society, an entire society, begins to suffer from a cognitive dissonance that prevents them from accepting self evident truths, and they dissemble and move beyond dissembling to demanding that you who insist on the truth are the liar. And even I have reflexively for some years had to gab myself as the insane in order to make the truth that I have had to say less offensive to the society that has become acculturated to lies. So, in recent days, as Nigeria had to deal with the reality of the Trumpian mirror, found another English word. Trump held up a mirror for Nigeria. And since he held up this mirror to our country, I have seen a vain attempt at applying makeup to the image in the mirror. Now, that is a very funny metaphor. An image is in the mirror, and then you carry your mascara, your lipstick, and you begin to apply it to the image that is in the mirror that must constantly shift. Now, understand this. That is the nature of the lies that you have to tell against the manifest truth. Trump came out and he said, it was very specific. I actually have it jotted down. He put out 8 things He says if the Nigerian government continues to so they were allowing it. Is this a lie? Of course not. I was alive and well, and all of us were hearing. We were here in Nigeria when General T.Y. Danjuma said, they collude. They collude. The Nigerian army, they collude. He was the chief of army staff, a general, an eminently qualified member of what was once upon a time the Northern Oligarch, a veritable member of the Senate where they sit down to decide what became of this sorry country. He came out in the public. He said, you collude. The army of the Nigerian state, it colludes. If you wait for them to protect you, you will die one by one. That was in Dele Farotimi. That was T.Y. Danjuma. If he doesn't know what he's talking about, who does? He has access to intelligence beyond my imagination. He's been a player. He's not just a player, he's a game maker. He says the army colludes. That is an institution he once led. So, what has Trump said? That people are cackling like beheaded chicken up and down the place. The Nigerian government allows it. So that's the first thing that Trump said. The USA will immediately stop all aids and assistance. Think about it. How do I pay a drummer and the drummer will be playing a beat different from the one that I want to hear? He who pays the piper dictates the tune. Since our rulers have assured that Nigeria remains a beggar nation in spite of its riches, why would they not be told that the hates will be stopped? How does that become the problem of the victims? The AIDS never did anything for us, but has Trump lied? Has he not been giving AIDS? Has the Americans not been giving AIDS to us? We made ourselves beggars. And since when do beggars begin to have the mouth to complain about what those who gives it and in what denomination, or even when they give or do not give? And then he went on to talk about our now disgraced country. Question is this: does it require Trump to point out the obvious to us? What does it take for a country to become disgraced? A country that cannot conduct elections? The very first function of a state is the protection of the lives and properties of the citizens. How well has the Nigerian state protected the lives and properties of the Nigerian citizen? How well? This is a state that has failed woefully, and don't forget, deliberately, because it allows it. It allows it. Trump talked about coming gun blazing. He didn't say it was going to come gun blazing for me and you. He said it was going to come gun blazing for the terrorists. If we have a situation where our government have become so manifestly useless and irresponsible that it allows it, how then do you quibble with the person who is threatening to come and do what you have failed to do as your duty? Yeah, you don't want any guns blazing in our country. It's not you. This is not a problem that can be resolved with American gun blazing in our street. But surely we can do with a few help by America in killing off those who have been killing us. So please, these lies about anyway. Question is this: he spoke about Islamic terrorists killing Nigerians, and then the firestorm began. And it is because of the edification of lies in our society. Gumi was quoted as saying very clearly, and I then went online to listen to the video. I watched the video myself. And what Gumi said was very interesting. He was seeking to make a distinction between members of separatist organizations like IPOB. He mentioned IPOB specifically, and the terrorists who are killing Nigerians indiscriminately across the length and breadth of Nigeria. Answering Gumi is not my preoccupation, but I am using Gumi to illustrate a point that must be made. When lies have become edified in a society, you'll find a situation where a man like Gumi, who should ordinarily be considered respectable, even though he is not. If you once you get to know him, the more you know of the man, the more you read of him, the more you listen to him, the quicker you will find that he's deserving of no respect. Now, I am using what he said to illustrate a point, so I'll quote him. He says, yes, I know they have killed, and it is wrong to kill anybody innocent. Yes, he knows that they have killed. And then he qualified it. And it is wrong to kill anybody innocent. Who determines the innocence of the killed? He went further to explain how logical it is that peace be found with these murderous terrorists, whilst no peace may be found with the separatist agitators. Like I said, IPOB was only the type that he elected to use. I would put all separatist agitators in the same basket because separatist agitation must not, may not, and should never be equated with the madness of Islamic terrorism and Fulani militancy. Never. But these false equivalencies, which are in actual fact lies, have been erected in the Nigerian public space to normalize evil. There is a particularly gruesome reminder of why this should never, and this is not one that is particularly unique because it happens randomly, daily, wantonly, from the excused killing of Deborah in Sokoto, where an entire society, because it takes an entire society to normalize the evil, because there is a spiritual explanation, a theological normalization from the likes of Gumi, who believes that these jihadists have the right to kill those who are not innocent. Question is, who determines the innocence? Who determines the guilt of Deborah? Who determined the guilt of the Nigerian army and police officers who were killed summary style in 2018 in Iran, the headquarters of Kalibakwe? Three UNICEF staff were equally killed, execution style, their hands tied behind their back, shot in the head. These are the persons for whom Gumi is finding explanation. They went to Yelawata, over 200 persons. They didn't even, they burnt them in their homes. These are the persons for whom Gumi is offering explanations, seeking to normalize evil. Now, when a society begins the process of edifying lies. The first thing it does is that lies are normalized. Complex social, psychological, and institutional mechanisms that normalize these falsehoods are pushed and weaponized. Lies will be told to you by trusted persons. Persons you expect to say the truth will come out and tell you, oh, there is no genocide in Nigeria. There is no genocide in Nigeria, but people are being murdered in their homes. They are being displaced from their ancestral land, in some cases because of mining interests. In the plateau, there are documented cases of communities that have been wiped out and then resettled. And you say that's not genocide? Then what is? The extent of the edification of lies that has overtaken us has even led to a point where there is a complete absence of shame in admitting to the lies that have been told to the ruination of this country. I was watching a piece recently where a former governor, just like a whole lot of them, but this particular one is very recent, was talking about how they weaponized lies to fight Jonathan not to remove subsidy, even though they knew it was the right thing to do. And the same APC has turned full circle to do the same thing that he then said was not the right thing to do. And there are no consequences. And then you look at the persons who stood behind that lie. Look at the lineup at Ojota. Look at the lineup at all the places where an entire, the totality of Nigerian civil organizations killed behind a lie. And that is why today the NLC cannot call a strike. None of the civil rights organization can credibly come out and demand civil action because of the lies they have told in pursuit of a political agenda. And they come back out. A lie that should be sufficient to destroy the public of the public life of somebody, of a politician, they come out publicly, admit to it, and nothing happens. With institutionalized lies, the Bureau of Statistics will cook figures, rebase the economy just to make it look good and make the political masters look great. We keep removing and adding zeros, and figures are beginning to lie in our country because we have edified lies. Government institutions are telling lies. Look at INEC. Brazen lies in pursuit of the political purposes of men. You subvert the totality of a country in pursuit of lies. We raise lies to high office. You see men, they will stand behind pulpits telling lies to the people. Brazenly too. No remorse. They get caught in these lies if they are not drinking tea with God. They are moving from one toilet in the airport of one country to the toilet in another country. You are not receiving miracle alerts. All kind of lies, barefaced lies are edified and raised up. And nobody challenges them anymore. We even have them reduced to skits. And we all laugh over it. And you find these places jam-packed and these persons raised up as models in the society. Our courts, Lord Almighty, one of the commonest maxims that you find bandied around where justice is talked about, so the judiciary is the last refuge of the common man. To say that the Nigerian society is blessed with a judiciary that in any way, shape, or form delivers refuge to the common man, it's a brazen lie. I know this, you know this. Almost every judicial officer with conscience in Nigeria, when they are retiring, in seeking to distance themselves from the madness from which they have retired, they begin to preach against judicial corruption. They begin to preach. I have been involved in a case where a judge actually he granted an injunction, interim, not something that was on notice, ex parte. He granted it ex parte, directing police, DSS, civil defense to perform an act where the other party never had an opportunity to even be heard, and has never been given an opportunity to be heard. And this ex parte order is still subsisting more than 8 months after it was granted. That is the country we have built. We've edified lies. I hope you read Chidi Odinkalu's piece about Wike's judge, the one that is exclusively reserved for Wike. That is the society we have built. That is the judiciary that we have built. You find high government high government officials spreading lies and hatred from behind the desk of the state. And you expect peace to reign in such a society. But why do we allow this? There is first the confirmation bias. Because you've already decided that all Christians are Hani or Kufri, or all Muslims are terrorists. When they talk about the way a Christian life was dispensed with, it doesn't hit you because you've devalued that life by the lies that you have already embraced. When they say all Muslims, note the word all, are terrorists, it's easier for you to embrace as well. You forget, of course, the Imam that hit so many. But who was he hiding them from? There are so many lies that we've embraced. We want simple answers to complex issues. So we embrace these lies. It is easier to believe that all my problems have come as a result of that person from that other tribe or that other ethnicity, that other religion. It's easier, much easier. But look around us. What has it bettered for us? A breakdown of public trust, social fragmentation everywhere you look, economic instability. Who want to put money in a place? Even we amongst ourselves. What have we done to ourselves? Our democratic institutions have never been more fragile. All of a sudden, we're talking about coups. Nobody trusts anything coming from government. That is the level of widespread cynicism that has overtaken us. Look, we have come to a point as a collective where we need to stop subjectivizing the truth if we do not want to lose our society completely. There cannot be one truth in one place that becomes a lie when it crosses to the next place. Are Christians being killed? Yes. Are they being killed in disproportionate numbers? Yes. Are Muslims being killed? Yes. Who are the persons doing the killings? The truth becomes a little more difficult to wrap one's brain around at that point. But the truth of the matter is that when you have Islamic clerics, such as Gumi, coming out constantly to excuse evil, when you have Christian clerics, and I find very few that can be vouched for outside of the Buba, the Ayédọ̀mọ́s of this world, when they speak from both sides of their mouths and they cannot speak forthrightly to the truth of what is in front of them, you begin to ask yourself, how would that society retrace its step when it continues to reinforce lies? How? And there is a truth bias that reinforces all of this. When you sit down and you're watching your TV, unfortunately for some of you watching stations like TVC, which is the official mouthpiece of the APC and Bulaba, you take it that what you are hearing is the truth. So you have the truth bias. You read the newspapers, the news are paid for. You don't know which is truthful and which is the lie. So it behooves you trust the evidence of your own senses. Believe your own eyes. Believe your own brains. Do not allow yourself in any way, shape, or form to be distracted by Nigeria and its many lies. Do not allow yourself to be distracted. The truth is self-evident. It's right there in front of you. If it quacks like a dog, moves like a dog, looks like a dog, it's almost always a dog. This edification of lies would have to stop. It has destroyed our society. It is painful that you find Islamic movement of Nigeria, bodies such as those, victims themselves, the sheikhs, the Shiites, and they will be capable of finding excuses for the evil because of religion. All of a sudden, the Sunnis and the Shia found common purpose in denying the lies, in denying the truth and edifying a lie. Decry the language of Trump, and I do. Decry the hypocrisy of America. I've never been silent about it. But you cannot deny the truth and not look like idiots. There is a genocide going on in Nigeria. The Nigerian state is complicit in it. It will take the collective will of the Nigerian people to stop this if we must stop the destruction of our country. The only thing I can do is to say my own. But you know something that I will say to you as I'm saying my bye-bye this morning? It became easier to speak to a people that have proven themselves obdurate and incapable of hearing when I found that by speaking to you, hmm, by speaking to you, I'm bearing testimony against you because history will recall that the same information available to me and you led me to draw the conclusions that I drew and that I warned you about. You are the ones who have willfully refused to hear. I am not unmindful of the fact that perhaps if I was dancing Skelewu for you, we would have more traffic here. But that's because you imagine that what I'm doing is for now. It's not. I'm doing this for when me and you are probably long gone, when another generation inexorably will arise and they will need to find their way back to the point where we lost our way. I've had my say. I am done. I got very little left to say, but I beg of you, find common purpose and quickly. And as a last bit, you saw the shenanigans in Anambra yesterday. I laughed myself silly from Gala to what was that again? Was it Ribena? Seen all kind of funny things online. That's the democracy in 2027. It is well. Get your PVC, not because of your gala and money, but so that if somebody should offer us hope, we would at least have the first bullet in the guns that we must carry. Your first bullet is your PVC. Trust me. That first bullet is your PVC. Randy Peter is doing a fantastic job. Support him. The ICE platform is ready to be populated, and we'll put out the links. I believe Kunle told me they're ready. We should put out the links today. Was yes, we'll put out the link today. One was put out for the Telegram platforms for those asking, because I've seen a couple of persons pop up with questions related to the ICE platform. Look out today on all my social media platform. We'll put out the links for you to join so that we may begin our conversations. There are multiple things we need to discuss. This is not as interactive as um, it's not interactive enough to challenge ourselves so that we might argue back and forth and educate each other. But the Telegram group and the WhatsApp group should provide that to all of us. So look out. You see that. Bear with us if we are a little slower than you would have preferred. God bless you all. Have a blessed week in front of you. And if you have been busy supporting terrorism in Nigeria, be careful. Trump is not likely to inform you before it drops. Shalom.